Welcome to Holistic Emails, Email and More, a Q&A with. Every 2 weeks, we showcase a different topic and have different expert panelists join us. It's definitely not rehearsed. As you can see, I just messed up definitely. The live audience, which is you, get to ask us your burning questions about the topic at hand. I'm Adiola Sol, and hopefully you should get used to me by now, and I'm a senior consultant at Holistic Email, and I'm your host and moderator for Email and More. With me today, I have Kath Pei, who's the CEO of Holistic Email Marketing. There she is. Karina Cohen of Caleres, give us a wave. There she is. And last but not least, Gretchen Scheinman of Liveclicker. There she is. Right, and our topic today is real-time personalization. And whilst you're typing your burning questions into the Q&A area, I'll ask the panelists to quickly introduce themselves. So I'm going to pick up random. Let's see. You know what, Gretchen, start.
All right.
Bookcase.
Because of my bookcase, I'll have to remember that for the future. It gets me in trouble. So my name is Gretchen Scheinman, and I work at CM Group, which is a combination of many ESPs as part of one company, which makes us pretty big in the space and a lot of fun to work with. Part of our group is Liveclicker, and Liveclicker absolutely does real-time personalization in emails. So I'm really happy to talk about that today.
Woo. And Karina, tell us about yourself.
So I'm Karina Cohen, and I work for a company called Caleres, but Caleres is actually a fashion portfolio of shoe brands. That you could tell by our name. So some of you might know us as Franco Sardo or Sam Edelman, Naturalizer. If you're here in the States or somewhere in Canada, you might know Famous Footwear as well. And I'm really excited to be here today and tell you about the different ways that we personalize our experiences with our customers for shoe purchases, because I know I buy a lot of shoes, and I try and get my customers to also buy a lot of shoes.
Yes, you have a great job, Karina. Like the best. And everyone knows Kath Pei, but for those of us that are new to our webinars, Kath, introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, so I'm Kath. I'm CEO of Holistic Email Marketing, and we do consulting. We're a boutique consultancy, helping people or marketers with their holistic journeys, which is one of my passions, and Adiola here helps me to do that.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I've known Kath for a very long time. And I remember I met her, I was actually a client of hers years ago, and she invited me to an email marketing conference, which was amazing. And I think I had admired her from afar. And I remember when I was trying to ask Kath to be my mentor, it took me 2 years to ask her. To pluck up the courage to ask her the question. I had to have a couple Prosecco's first, just in case she said no, so then it wouldn't feel, you know, as harsh. But yeah, she said yes. So here we are years later. And now we're here live talking about real-time personalization. So, you know, the way the world works.
There you go.
You guys that are watching us live, if you do have any questions, please feel free to ask them. There's no such thing as a silly question, where we've got an expert esteemed group. But whilst you're asking, I have a kickoff question for the guys here. So what's the difference between personalization and real-time personalization? Who wants to start with this, or what's your thoughts on the actual differences between the two?
Well, I mean, at Caleres, our real-time personalization is taking a lot of our pertinent info, such as reward programs, and pulling in your current information. So say you're about to make a purchase, but you abandon. Not only do we give you the abandonment, which is personalized to you, but we also pull in exactly how much you have in credits to try and get you to use those credits towards that purchase.
Oh, that's very smart, actually.
So yeah, that's how we use kind of both in one.
Yeah. Oh my God, most brands should do that. Okay.
That's a great
And below
idea.
that, I also have 3 other shoes that I think you'd also like, based on so we're real dangerous when it comes to personalization when you abandon a product.
Wow.
Absolutely.
That email
that is the way to do it.
Packed.
Yep. And I know it works because I fall for it all the time. In testing, I'll be like, oh, that shoe and that footer looks awful cute. Okay, fine.
I think
love
that's the
that.
worst thing as a marketer, when you know you're being marketed to, but you just can't help.
You fall
Yep.
for it anyhow.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're just like, forget I'm buying it.
Yep. Yeah, I wrote the code. I know what I'm doing, and I still am like, oh, all right, fine.
It's
Victory.
inserted a reward to marketers
Yep.
who are doing their jobs well, because so many, either for systems reasons or anything else, they can't pull this together. So when you see it done well, it's so exciting.
It
So
is.
yeah, of course you buy the shoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
We all need more shoes in our lives. This is not a hard sell.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
yeah,
my
it's a great question, because you think about this, personalization on a continuum, and you start with the basics of segmentation, which gets you somewhere, and then you go on and you've got sort of the next thing on the list, which is probably, first name. And okay, that's nice. Saying, dear Karina or dear Kath or dear Adiola is fantastic. But we've all had that. And we all need to do a little bit better than that to get somewhere, because the bar has been raised, table stakes are higher. And so you can start by pulling in, little pieces of information, but you get more bang for your buck when you're pulling in real time. Hey, how many credits do you have? What were the last shoes that you shopped that we can remind you, hey, you liked this, why don't you check it out again? All that stuff is so powerful.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's something really, really simple, like sort of tapping into what Gretchen was saying. Personalization, generally speaking, can be quite minimalistic, quite basic, even to the extent of what Karina was saying about the abandoned cart, right? That even without all that wonderful real-time personalization elements that she was putting into that abandoned cart, just the fact that you're sending a message to them when they've abandoned, that's innately personalized. So that's personalization as well. So we could, it really personalized. It can also be the tone of voice and everything. Or even the kind of program you're offering them. So it's a lot more broad. Whereas real-time personalization is pulling in that data, whether it's data you actually have or it's data that's happening on the site where they are, or whether it's the type of device that they're on when they receive, the email, whatever. So it's that real time.
That's all really, really, really good responses to that question. And we've had a question come in through one of our audiences from Matthew Dunn, and he's used a word that I can't pronounce. I'm gonna
Ubiquitous.
Thank you. I was like, oh my goodness, Matthew, your grammar is fantastic. So real-time personalization is ubiquitous in most digital marketing channels, web apps, etc., but relatively rare in email marketing. Why? And I think it's a good question, and it's funny because based on what Kath was saying, I think the way webs use real-time personalization is that the site sometimes can dynamically change and reconfigure itself to suit its needs to whoever is visiting. Whereas with the email, I think there is some forms of, some could say a welcome journey is real-time because of the data that you've put in, and straight away there's a trigger that happens to kind of onboard you and bring you on into the brand. I mean, it's called a welcome journey, but in essence, it could also be classified as real-time personalization. But yeah, does anybody want to take a stab at Matthew's very good question? Love
I'll give
there.
the cynical answer. The cynical answer is it's money.
Yep.
Yeah.
The web channel gets a lot more funding.
Yep.
And if we're smart when we're working in email, we're taking that funding and we're taking all the things we're pulling in and we're trying to figure out how to reuse them. And try to turn around and say, okay, so you used this piece of technology on the web. I can take advantage of that in email and port it over. But it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say headcount as well. I know that we have an entire web team down on our garden floor in IT. We have an entire e-commerce team on top of that web team. And then we have 4 of us that do email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where we do as much as we can. And like Gretchen was saying, I do take a ton of the pieces that we use on the web and I try and tie it into email. even if it's just getting the data so that I can do the same thing on my side. But I do, and sometimes it's even a limit on the ability to have even like an API or something to connect those two systems. Because even so, people are like, why would I want the website to talk to my ESP? Like, why can't you just get that from your CRM if you really want data? So there can be some pushback where it can have to go through other systems where it takes longer as well to be able to get that same type of personalization.
Yeah, it's really frustrating to hear that. When I think that's a perfect example, Karina, of the things that we should be thinking of, and yet we have to fight battles to achieve it every day. What do you mean you don't want an API from, you know, your website to your ESP? Of course you need one. Come on, basics.
And especially when you start to think about, you know, okay, let's think about it. Email is a push channel. Website is a pull channel. So it's innately easier for us to personalize the push channel. We have the data, we're actually tracking what they're doing. We can identify it, you know, connect it to a unique identifier and everything. And that's why personalization theoretically should be much more advanced within email than it is on the web and all the rest of it. And so, you know, your response, Gretchen, and saying, you know, sort of, I think it's a realistic one. I think that's what it is. It's the truth. And you know, and Karina, what you were saying about the small teams, this is just our continual challenge that we have being in the email industry, that we are underappreciated, undervalued, and therefore under-budgeted. Exactly. Exactly. And you know,
and expected to work miracles.
It's such a shame because, you know, we have so much potential and a lot easier as well. I mean, you know,
Matthew, I hope that answers your question. It's definitely a mix of things in terms of, you know, costs, resources, but yes, as the panelists were saying, it's the data is there, but necessarily sometimes it can actually just be pushback, but it should be so much more, you know, powered, because there is a lot that we can do with emails, but it's definitely about the resource and then the actual business wanting to invest so that those things can happen. Oh, Matthew, you have another question. Okay. so follow on. Are data silos also an obstacle in email personalization? I would say yes. Will customer data platforms help eventually?
Such a great question, because really in email, the two biggest obstacles to doing personalization are data and content. And so this really speaks to the data part of it. And how are we going to solve the data issue? And there's so much to unpack there, right? Karina, I don't know what challenges you've had, but I know I've over the years worked with a number of companies, and it's always, do we have the data in the right place? Can we get the list easily enough?
Yeah.
I've worked with companies that without a CDP, they wind up waiting 3 weeks for a list. By the time they get it, you know, you've got opt-outs in there. It needs to be refreshed. And what do you do?
Yeah.
I would say on the other hand, though, you're still only as good as the data that you're gathering. So if you have a CDP, but you don't have good data, or you don't have everything connected, it's not going to help. I can tell you that we have a CDP set up, but we have a lot of really bad data even 2 years in that we're still working to clean out. So while we are able to segment quickly on the fly, I've been able to implement an audience building and segmenting tool. It's still only as good as the data.
Yeah, which is
a really good point.
I think we've had I've worked with a few brands in the past where there's a wealth of information that's available, but in terms of how clean that data is and how readily accessible it is, especially to the email team, so you can almost see it but you can't touch it. So it makes it very difficult to then power some of those campaigns that you really want to action, because it then involves so many different teams in order to get that piece of information, and the amount of time it takes to pull that data. I've worked in places where it can take up to a week to, you know, query data and to then export it. And that's another thing. It then gets exported as a CSV and not necessarily passed through so that you can create automations off of it. So it's almost like you're doing all this effort for a one-hit, one-time campaign, which is also not quite a very good time of resource. So
yeah, there's a lot of frustrations there, but email marketers, we tend to be pretty scrappy. Karina, I'm sure you have plenty of scrappy stories. I know that I've worked with some people who have said, okay, I can't connect system A here, but I can make it look like I have it connected by swapping out images intelligently at specific times of day. So I'll at least have the message I want. It won't be as clean, it won't be as good, but I can work around that and make it look really personalized and very local, but not have that connection yet.
Yeah. So, and
I mean, that's exactly how I sell myself pretty much for my job is, I mean, there aren't a lot of people even nowadays that still have a developer specifically for marketing purposes on staff. There's very few and far between. That's the reason my LinkedIn is constantly blowing up, is because there are very few of me, especially ones that can create mobile responsive email templates and do the content side and also integrate systems. So, I mean, unless you're going to spend a lot of money on an agency, we're really hard to find, in addition to being able to put up those fights and be able to advocate for your marketing team. I can tell you I'm the only one that has access to any of our CRM tables and our commerce tables, anything backend, to be able to write a query and pull in that data. And before that, it did take weeks and weeks for my team.
So you're like HTML developer, SQL query, and whoa.
Triple threat.
I've been doing this since 2007. I was fortunate enough that I interned at ExactTarget before it was Salesforce and was able to get a full-time job. So, and I sat within the development team as my very first email job, watching and being release manager. So I learned a ton about even how it works from both sides from the start. And so I've always kind of kept that in mind. And there's also pieces that I learned from the developers on kind of how to work around that I now take advantage of.
You're like a CRM unicorn. There's not
and I wish that more companies hired people like me, because they could do some more amazing projects, or even just hire an agency for a few hours just so that you can do some of these one-off pieces, because it is sometimes the lack of ability to be able to even get to the point that you can do this hyper personalization, because you may not have somebody that can write the script to pull in the data.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely not a SQL query person.
But then also, you know, like a tool like Liveclicker helps you to circumvent any of these data problems and actually still give you that personalized essence, but it's using that data of the behaviors user, or, you know, where the geography or the device they're using or something. So there is that personalized element. So there's always, you know, and this is, I guess, one of those workarounds. It's you know, you don't have to have that, you know, always have that data to be able to do that personalization.
The tools are absolutely a great way to get a workaround. You also might find, if you're working with a really good ESP, you know, I know that on my end, Sailthrough does an amazing job of doing a lot of this stuff. And you can start to say, well, there are ways to access the website directly without an API, and grab information and do that, and then have the real-time personalization by taking advantage of what's been put on the website. Hey, if we know they're ahead of us, let's just steal it. Stealing is very good in this case. We're stealing from our own company. It's not real theft.
And definitely, yeah, those tools actually make it easier for me to be able, especially since I have 14 different brands. Tools like Liveclicker make it so I can supplement some of the development pieces that I would be doing pretty much as my entire job, so that I can do these other cool pieces. So say they want to tie in a few different Liveclicker elements depending on some other piece of data, then I can go in and do that piece while they're setting up this other tool to do all of the hyper personalization.
Amazing. Okay, just before I go on to one of the live questions, there's I think this question will be quite good for everyone that's watching, because I think the things that we've touched upon have been quite interesting. So here we go. I want to do more personalization within the CRM channel. Not me, but the person who asked this question. What is your advice for getting started? So who
Such
wants
a
to?
great question. Really, the advice for doing anything in any channel is to start by talking it up in your company and figuring out how to put some numbers behind it.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters whether you're working in email or web or social or any other area, or even merchandising. Let's go outside of marketing. It's really, you've got to get your story straight.
Mhm.
In business, in any enterprise that you work in, people value stories. If you can tell a really good story that'll help people understand how you're going to make them lots of money and make them be successful, then they're going to buy into it. And then you've got permission to go on from there and start actually saying, okay, this is how we get there. Here's the path.
Right, yeah. So you would say start with the conversation, outline the business objectives, sell the dream before actually looking at solutions.
Yes. And I love the way you put that, sell the dream. Don't start with the nitty gritty. Don't start with the tactics, sell the dream.
Sell the
Because you
dream.
can put in a ton of time, and then if the price tag is too high, they're going to say no, and you've wasted a lot of time instead of maybe finding a few other alternatives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah,
Nice.
just really getting an idea of what it is that the end goal is and how it's going to benefit not only the company, but even sometimes the user. There are times where maybe your SVP wants to do something really cool because I saw it out there, but it doesn't really pertain to maybe your industry.
Yeah.
Or I know even to be able to use interactive elements within some of our emails, I really had to prove out how it was going to either make us more money or improve the customer experience. We weren't going to do it just to do it because it still requires other people within the company, not just myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I'd also add to that then, making sure that you have a very, very tight plan for testing and measuring the success.
Mm-hmm.
And understand also what your key metrics are of success. So for me, for personalization, all the research I've done, all the tests that we've done and everything, we have to, exactly what Corinna said. She said about enhancing the customer experience, because that's very much what personalization does. And it doesn't always just affect that particular campaign. It actually affects the customer lifetime value. And so if you're going to be, working out with what are we going to be doing, how are we going to be measuring our integration and our implementation of real-time personalization, then maybe we want to be measuring and testing, putting in controls and everything like that with your campaigns, but also take it a bit longer and make sure you're starting to look at the customer lifetime value as well, because it will have a positive impact on that too.
Oh, it's definitely going to change their expectation of your company. Every time you add something hyper personalized, and then the next time you send out something similar that's not, they're going to be like, what the heck? I know you can do this. Send me the information I needed last time. Yeah.
Yep. The expectations
Consumers are smart,
change.
especially now that we're all at home and everybody's become this digital consumer so much faster. I mean, we've got some savvy consumers out there. And I can tell you, at least from our side, being brand side, our customers are letting us know what they think and what they feel should be improved as part of the customer experience now that they are at home, and the pieces that we were lacking. So, I mean, we got our curbside out within 2 months. And then after that 2 months, we got feedback from customers on things that we needed to do better. And we started making those changes. But yeah, I mean, our customers are telling us what they expect out of our company now. They're not just going to sit there quietly and deal with it anymore.
Am I understanding you that they're actually not just expecting personalization, but you could almost say they're demanding it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like we have a couple of brands that don't append their welcome promo real time when you sign up on the website. And they let us know almost daily that, where's my promo code? I put in my email address. You told me to get 10% off. I'm buying these shoes. Why is it not in my cart? Like that is an expectation that they have. And it's not even from our company. It's because of other companies.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, so they've like taken what they've seen somewhere else, liked it, and having an expectation.
And going, why aren't you doing that?
Why aren't you doing that? But you know what? But that is a pet peeve of mine. If you said I get a discount code, put it in the goddamn shopping cart. Like, make me go sift through my emails again to copy and paste and go back on the tab. Yeah, same sentiment.
Yep.
Staff look shocked, like, oh my God,
Yep.
just go into your emails.
Yep.
We've become lazy. We have
Yeah.
definitely become creatures of habit. Things need to be made easy, on demand, literally real time, in order to, Kath is perplexed.
No, I'm familiar with you and your shopping.
Oh my goodness gracious me. Okay, we've actually, Matthew has a few questions, but actually, Karina, this one is for you from Matthew Dunn. So if you're free to comment on it, Karina, what was the journey to get acceptance and use of real-time personalization with your brands, and how did you get there? Which is a good question. I guess it's, you know, kind of ties into what Gretchen said as well. It's kind of like having that open communication, but it'll be interesting to find out, Karina, how you went about it to get the acceptance of this this way of working.
Funny enough, for all of our AI pieces within the abandonment that I was telling you about, I had been pushing for it for a while. And then an SVP had actually shopped on DSW and received an abandonment that did everything that I had laid out.
Really?
And came to my SVP and was like, why aren't we doing this? And so that one, I pretty much immediately got by, and it was almost the easiest it's ever been, which was fabulous. But yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's even showing leadership what other brands are doing, bringing in these customer complaints that I was just talking about, and bringing it all together as a whole story, as Gretchen was talking about.
Yeah.
Because that's people like a story. And I'm showing them not only how I'm going to make them money with this improvement, but also how we're currently losing money by not doing it.
She put the financials in there, Matthew. Money talks.
It's always money. And also, if I can do it with a smaller, more agile team, especially right now. I mean, that is the less people it takes to do the work, the easier it is to get buy-in right now. And
but that's also not fair at the same time.
It's not.
It makes sense, and you know, oh, okay, if I've got a skeleton team and they're able to bring in an extra 6% of revenue or however much, you know, a month, great, fantastic. But then on top of that new addition in terms of work, you still have to keep up with everything else that you're doing. It's not that one thing drops because you decide to, you know, implement something else. So whereas web teams get to be at full capacity in order to do certain things, and I, you know, in previous places where I've worked, certain projects will be stalled or delayed in order to make room for something new and exciting to happen, because that's like a business objective. So yeah, I think it's
there's
unfair,
been a ton of that lately.
Yeah.
This year especially.
Yeah, but I guess that's how CRM, email marketing, it's always been that way, I guess. But it's nice to know that it's you guys, it's kind of like the same thing. It's have evidence, show what your competitors are doing or what other brands are doing, how they're bringing those benefits to customers, and where, you know, there's an opportunity there for you to do in kind. Yeah, does anyone have anything else to add to that? I mean, I know, Karina, this was directed to you, but I'm sure some other people might have.
I just love the story about showing the DSW email. That is the shortest shortcut to a story. I love it.
Yep.
It's got the visual, the story, and the financials all wrapped up in one. Our competitors are going to eat our lunch if we don't do this. End of story.
That's it. That's it. We're going to be left behind. Yeah.
And it was nice to have them come up and be like, why aren't we doing this? And well, here's my plan on how to do it that I've been presenting to the people below you. And then she went over and like, why are we not doing this?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Amazing. Okay. We do actually have another live question. This is so good. There's like so many questions. Yeah, guys, keep on. If you've got any questions, like I said, there's no wrong question. Anything that's on your chest, type it away and we'll definitely try and get to it. So Bernard, but you might pronounce it Bernard. So sorry if it is Bernard. What is the customer prospect mix between the website and email contacts? I feel like this it definitely is more or less case by case. But yeah, does anybody want to help answer this question? I'll repeat it again. What is the customer/prospect mix between the website and email contacts?
I can tell you that within our company, we have a large gap between how many accounts we have on the web and how many people we actually market to. But a lot of that is also due to engagement. We want to keep deliverability at a 99.9 to 100%. So if people don't engage after like 6 to 9 months, we go ahead and take them out of our active marketing list. If they then find a way to get back to our site and start engaging again, they become part of the list again. But because of that, we have millions and millions of records of accounts, but we only have a few million that we actually market to actively.
Right, okay. Do you do anything with those?
About right.
Yeah. Do you do anything with those accounts that are created but not necessarily subscribed? Is there every now and then an intermittent nudge, or are they
we try
just
and use other platforms? We're very strict about our email opt-ins and messaging within.
Right.
We do have opportunities within, say, our transactional emails and our abandonment emails, anything that is considered transaction-based and triggered, to have them sign up again.
So you follow the rules.
Yes. But yeah, we don't actively send an email being like, hey, we noticed that you don't engage with us, so we're going to email you
definitely.
again.
No, definitely. But any tactics by using the website, I think there is definitely an opportunity to engage or to get people that have created an account to actually become subscribers, but it might feel like more work. I know that there are a lot of people or brands that don't necessarily go for them because it just feels like, whoa.
Oh no, we inundate people with the opportunity to opt in on our sites. You've got a lightbox, you've got a footer, you can do it when you create an account, you can do it when you check out as a guest.
Yeah.
So there are different touch points there.
Yep.
To kind of
pretty much every touch point, we've made sure that there's a way to opt in.
Right.
That was one of the very first things I did when I came into Caleres, was make sure that anywhere that we had a new customer possibly coming in, including setting up lead capturing even within our social platforms as well, which we did.
Right. Okay. So you're like the opt-in SQL ninja.
Yep. I just basically went around to everyone and was like, okay, how do you get a new customer? How do you get a new customer? Oh, and customer service. They also ask if people want to opt in or not if they don't have.
Oh, okay. That's really good.
Well, we have a ton of elderly, some of our brands are for more elderly people. And so they call in. They want to hear about the shoe. They want to talk to somebody about the shoe, and they want to place their order with a person. So at the same time, we also tell them, well, yes, while you may want to order from us, don't you want to know what promo we have going on?
so with
nicely done.
Cart, this is always a bit of a controversial thing because the DMA UK at one point, and I'm not sure if they still do, but at one point actually deemed these, as long as there's not, I mean, the way that you're doing yours, they would fall under marketing, I guess. But the DMA,
and we save it for anybody who is logged in. You have to actually be logged into your account for it to find your email address to be able to get that trigger.
But they don't need to have given you marketing permission.
Well, if they're logged in, that's where it can actually do the analysis within the account to tell whether or not they've been marketed to, and then it will actually put it in the cookie or not. And then we have an algorithm that runs to let us know which ones within the cookie can actually be dropped and marketed to. Well, actually, they all get marketed or dropped, but they will have an empty email address field if they cannot be marketed to.
Right.
Yeah, it still follows opt-in rules and best practices.
Yeah, we still make sure that,
Yeah. So they have to be logged in and consented.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whereas I guess there are some people that, as long as you have an email address.
Although if you do have our app, if any of them have apps, then we do take advantage of you having the app, and we'll send you a push message.
Right.
And take advantage of it that way and use other channels.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try and stick with as much within opt-in compliance as we can. We have a little bit more leeway because we're only in Canada and the US for some of those brands. So we don't so far have to deal with GDPR. We actually use wholesalers.
Right. But even so, Canada's still pretty tight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty strict. Okay.
And yeah, those especially, we have a lot less triggers within our Canadian brands than we do for our US brands.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add to that, or shall I move on to the next question?
Let's move on to the next question, because I see some snark from our Matthew Dunn.
Yeah, I was gonna go for a different one, but okay, Gretchen.
I just like the snark because Matthew apparently is asking for a friend.
Yeah. Oh.
And tell you people do not want to pay to return products right now.
Yeah.
Any type
Yeah.
of service fees that you have for returning, because people can't go in and try it on in the store, and so they don't know their size. I mean, we've added the Real Fit piece, which is a plugin that's a tool kind of like LifeClicker, where you can go in and compare other brands and what your sizes are that you have.
Oh, that's really good.
But I mean, even that one, a lot of shoes run differently, so they aren't always 100% accurate. And so, yeah, if people order the same shoe in 2 or 3 different sizes, they don't want to pay the shipping and handling to then have to return the sizes that didn't fit, just so they could get the one size that did.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Maybe you should read the question so we can put everything into context.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Yeah. Yeah.
I just
So-
commented on the snark.
The question is, how has shoe buying changed during this pandemic? I wouldn't know.
With a winky face.
Ooh, I wouldn't know. Ooh, that was like a blink. Sorry, I tried to wink, both eyes closed.
Thank you, Matthew, for giving us the opportunity to have so much fun.
Right. Okay, so we have another. Ryan. Hi, Ryan. Ryan has a question. Unless this has been discussed, had a phone call in the middle of this amazing show. What do you feel is the reason why we have not seen greater adoption of real-time content? # no snark. I think, you know what? I think we kind of did talk about why there hasn't been that much adoption. And to put bluntly, it's the money.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to, everybody wants to make their program better, and everybody is constantly looking for the innovations that'll help them make their program better. Or at least I keep hearing that from people I speak to in the industry, and Karina, you're nodding your head, so hopefully that's agreement.
Yeah, definitely.
But really, it does come down to money and the ability to sell this in and the ability to take on the extra work with the team that you have. And that just got harder for a lot of us. It just got a lot harder, and it's all over. And so it comes down to, what can I do with the resources I have? And that's a tough question. It really is.
We have benefited, at least during COVID, that email has been outperforming all the other channels. Basically the entire time. So people are finally waking up to maybe we should be focusing on our email program and making these enhancements that we've been requesting.
Very true.
But we shouldn't have to have a pandemic that shuts down the entire world in order to innovate email.
Not in, year on year, for the last 12 years, e-consultancy has actually recorded that marketers are saying, so for the first 6 years, it was flipping between position 1 and position 2 in return on investment. And then the most recent 6 years, it's been every year number 1, highest in return on investment, right? And I think that's what the problem is. I think email is its own worst enemy, in that we make it look good. We bring in the money even if we're not doing a great job. Just because of its natural, tendencies. It's the fact that it's a push channel and all the rest of it. And, we're such dedicated, amazing people, basically, email marketers are. So you've got those sort of things in some way going against us. And then, yes, the pandemic comes and suddenly, oh, wow, okay, this is our savior, basically. We're driving everything. And maybe...
And all the leadership, and they're going, how do I get a hold of all of my customers to communicate with them? Oh, email.
But I think this is an incredible opportunity for email marketers as a unit, as a group, to turn around and start saying, here's how we align better across the organization. We have been treated so much as a silo that every time we talk about budget, it's in one channel. Whereas when you're on a website, you talk about budget and people understand that the website drives to the store and the store drives to the website. And so whatever you do there is the whole business. Whatever you do in email, it's email.
Yeah, I was going to say that because I feel as though, as much as, email has always been a star in my eyes, I think we do ourselves a disservice that we can do so much with so little. So even during a pandemic, there have been a lot of companies, brands out there that have managed to create some fantastic numbers still on a skeleton team. And so sometimes you condition the leaders to think that actually I might just need to invest in a tool, but not necessarily in more people. And I think there needs to be some form of boldness as well for those conversations to happen, to say we need more bums on seats to be able to use the tools that you want us to bring in order to create some of this fantastic personalization and email content to, you know, increase ROI. It's just a strain on a 3-person team. Because, you know, with emails, there's always something that goes wrong. There's always an issue that needs to be fixed. There's always an API that doesn't seem to quite work or bring in the right type of data on a specific day that it really needs to work. There's always something, and on a skeleton team, that it can be quite challenging to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Ooh.
And to Gretchen's point too, if you, one day I did this because it amazed me, because I thought, I wonder if, right? If you go and have a look at all the digital marketing agencies out there, you'll note that 95% of them do not offer email marketing as a service. Or if they do, it's a token one, and they have to pull an external person in. They don't have an internal specialist in there. So we are treated differently as well. And that's, you know, again, it's that mindset thing, isn't it? It's kind of like email is just different. I don't know.
I do quite a bit of contracting where I just get pulled in for a few hours to consult with companies on email best practices within the ESPs that I know, because they don't bring in a team. And some of the bigger ones are now starting to develop teams, but even so, they're struggling to find kind of good people because a lot of those people have already been found. So they're behind on the game, and so now they're trying to have to poach people that are happy where they are, or to try and get people like me from brand side, where I can tell you, unless you can somehow give me 30 to 50% off of 14 different shoe brands, I'm not going to an agency anytime soon.
All right, everyone, note what it will take to recruit Karina.
Exactly. You're going to get bombarded after this. You know, your LinkedIn stuff are going to be blown.
Yeah, they're going to be like, we'll offer you $500 a month for like Bloomingdale's.
I don't know if that'll cut it. It sounds like Karina's habit might be a little more expensive.
Well, I've got a mom and a sister, so that was one of the things that I even in my interview had said. So my mom, when I moved out to go to college, gutted my room and turned it into a shoe room. So now there's shoe racks everywhere.
Wow.
So it's maintaining her habit.
It's hard to resent that.
Yeah, no, very.
That's too funny.
Very.
So if anybody is amazed by mine, I just show them the picture of my old bedroom now. I'm like, this used to be my room at my parents' house.
Wow.
You've been replaced by shoes.
Yep, a lot of shoes.
It's a little harsh when you put it that way.
Yeah, she was like, no, you're the oldest, you're responsible. I knew you weren't coming back. I was like, but you could have at least pretended.
Yeah, kept a little shrine, but no.
The shoes are a shrine.
Right. Okay. Next question. At what stage in a customer's life cycle can real-time personalization be beneficial? Is anybody?
Oh my goodness, every stage.
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
Every stage.
So
should we elaborate?
let's give some examples. Pick a stage, and you know, what can real-time personalization do to make that stage so much more robust? You know, for the customer.
Even if all you know about the customer is where they are based on their IP address, so they've given you no information, you have no first name, no last name, you've got an email address, and you've got location, you've got a little bit about, you know, what browser they're coming from. There's so much information there that you can work with. Imagine if the next email you send has information about whether the store is open, closed, or, you know, offering curbside pickup near them, and you can put it on a map and stick a pin in it and color code the pins, and maybe the 3 stores near them have different statuses, and so you can show them, hey, here are your options. That's incredibly personalized, and you know next to nothing about that customer.
Yeah.
And yet
Or even
there's
telling
still
them what you
something
don't
there.
know and asking them for that information so that you can better market to them at the very
Yeah.
beginning. I know we
Yep.
do birthday promos where you get, in addition to our normal promos, you can stack an additional, like $10 off or something. So if I don't have your birthday because you didn't fill it, you came from the footer where you only gave your email address versus a light box where you give your email and your birthday, and I think your zip code as well for the store purpose, we let them know that, hey, we're missing some of this, that we can get you some valuable savings or even get you to a nearby store. Can you give me that information? And then for example, at the end of the relationship, when you notice that they're starting to trickle off, you can even take some of that personalized information and their engagements and whatnot and rebuild the value proposition specifically for them. Instead of the broad one that you give at the beginning of, hi, I'm this brand and this is why we're awesome and here's all the shoes. Why not be like, look, obviously, I can tell you like Dr. Scholl's. There's some people that just come to us for work shoes. So why not be like, look, you've bought shoes for work for the past 3 years and we've noticed you haven't been back this year. Do you need some new shoes or is there something we can do to bring you back?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the last email and more we did was on helpful marketing, and both those scenarios that you've just given, basically that leads to helpful marketing. And so that's why I think that across all of the stages, as long as you're helping the customer to be achieving their objective, it's absolutely real-time personalization is one of those tactics that really gives you the edge.
It reminds them why they created the relationship to begin with.
Yeah. I've actually got a hot topic question that's just come in off of the back of our last question from Dan Hare. Don't you think there is a danger of being seen as creepy if you rely on data like location without it being given by the user? Also a risk of inaccuracy? I'm going to quickly give my own 2 cents. I see why you would think it would be creepy, but I think it's incredibly helpful, especially when it's providing a service or information. So I know Kurt Geiger, never worked with them, but clearly I like shoes. They would let me know of my closest stores to me. So if there's, you know, a certain promotion going on, like a sale, they would say to me, here are your closest stores, 5-mile radius. And it's like, oh, there's a Kurt Geiger in Stratford, fantastic. Here I go to buy some sale shoes. So I think it depends on how it's used, not necessarily to say, we know you live in East London and, you know, we want to send you something, but more of how can we help you use our services that is of convenience to you. But does anyone else want to add to Dan's question in terms of creepy?
Creepy is doing a lookup and saying, well, Dan, I know you're on the south side of the street at 123 Main, and you are 1/10 of a mile closer to this, but the traffic is easier that way. That's creepy. That is way creepy. It's still
like your blue
helpful on the
shoes.
traffic aspect, but it's way creepy.
Yeah, I would say
is
people
saying
also
somewhere around your zip code is, you know, that's, you know, here's what we have in your area. I don't know where you are on, you know, the south side of Main Street, but you know,
and so many people allow you to use current location now for different pieces on the web and on your phone that I don't think that people really think about it as much anymore because they assume that they've probably allowed that at one point.
Yeah.
Because there's been times where I've been like, wait, how do they know where oh, wait, that's right. I tried to look up a store one time and used current location, which means they know where I am.
Yeah. And I think a lot of, you do see some brands use weather as well as a way to push.
Oh, there's a ton of that out here for the ski resorts.
See, look at that. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's, I understand why in some respects it can be seen as that, but when it's helpful marketing, it definitely can be a valuable piece of information that's sent. I hope that answers your question, unless anyone else on the panel wanted to add to it. I feel like
I do know that like for ours, when we have a store, we also try and give you the opportunity to give us that information. So like I was saying on our Lightbox, we ask for the zip code.
Yes.
So we do try and give you the opportunity so that we're not trying to come off as creepy. But if you were to go back to the site and the Lightbox were to pop up, you would see, oh, they asked for my zip code. Right, or, oh, I put in my zip code when I purchased something and made this account. I had to give them my shipping address.
Right. See, okay, Dan said, great answer. So we nailed it.
All right.
We have about 10 minutes and there's a question for Gretchen that I actually want to It's from our friend Matthew. So, so Gretchen, most ESPs, CRMs, marketing clouds, etc., don't offer real-time personalization in platform. Is that, along with the attendant tech / learning / coordination / data challenges, also an obstacle? Do you need me to repeat?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
It's a great point. And I think that's why a lot of ESPs are starting to snap up different companies that do various versions of personalization type stuff and try to integrate them into their systems. There's a lot of that that's starting to happen now across our industry. I would say that there are certainly enough competitors out there, Liveclicker being one of them, that can offer real-time personalization, and the cost is reasonable enough that it shouldn't be an obstacle for a marketer that has the opportunity to tell that story and to share a dream and to share a vision. That isn't entirely fair to everyone who isn't in as good a position as Karina is. Although Karina, you mentioned, saying I have the plans, I've been trying to sell them in, and it took a VP waving a DSW email to actually get anywhere.
It was the same with our weather. When DSW started doing weather, that was when we finally got to start the conversations with Liveclicker, Movable Ink, and all of those real-time personalization.
So do you think?
And that was after I had to show them how expensive it was to do it in-house.
Yes.
Do you think it's also a thing of, some people don't like to be early adopters, and so they wait.
They want it to be proven.
Yeah.
I mean, fashion is definitely behind on technology. It is admitted across pretty much the board. Even when I was interviewing within different retail and fashion companies, they're like, how do you feel for working for a company where some of our pieces of technology might be 5 or 10 years behind? But we are working to get them brought up, but we need your help.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is that. And so, I mean, I'm just now at the point after 2.5 years of work that we have all of these systems, but it took a lot of advocating and even kind of strategically posting cool things on our intranet, being like, hey, look at this cool brand's email. And then other people within the company were like, I didn't know you could do that in email. And then all of a sudden someone would come down and be like, hey, I saw your post. How do we do that too?
Such a busy bee. Wow.
Wow.
Karina, you did great examples of working that system.
Yeah, I am. I mean, it's taken many years though. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2007. So I've learned a lot of the different ways to get around and get adoption, because sometimes it takes other people seeing it out in the wild.
Yep.
My favorite is when people come to me with a cool email. I want to hug them.
Oh, you're like, you've been listening.
Yes. I'm like, look, you noticed, you saw.
Yeah.
It's like Stitch Fix is a great example of hyper-personalized content.
Yeah.
And we not only have hired somebody that just focuses on getting our content into Stitch Fix, but we also have started adopting more personalization because of companies like that and what they're doing. Because other people within the company have also been like, did you see that Stitch Fix thing? Did you see my shoes I got from Stitch Fix? And I've even been at conferences now where people have gotten our shoe brands from Stitch Fix, because when I see somebody in one of our brands that I recognize, I'll go up and be like, hey, nice shoes. And they'll be like, really? Thanks, I got it from so-and-so.
Wow.
So, and that's one of the ways that I kind of find out. And there's quite a few now that I hear get it from Stitch Fix and would have never thought to even look at that brand or hadn't even heard of it.
Wow. I feel like we have to do a email marketing hack webinar in terms of how to get advocacy, because Karina has been using every goddamn thing that's available to
Karina
her.
could write the playbook.
Yeah, because intranet, I just look at the intranet when I used to work, client side. I just used to look there for what was on lunch in the canteen. But Karina is pushing marketing content on there. That's great.
Strategically, like if I can find where someone has featured an email that's not like really good emails, every once in a while you get really lucky and people will feature email content within some other industry just because they think it's cool. So those are the ones that I'll post to our intranet. Yeah. It doesn't have anything to do with email.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. Oh, we definitely have to do this, Kath. We have to.
Yeah, it's down. It's down.
Yeah.
The Google listeners that you can do for the different words and whatnot. That's how I get a lot of these. Is I just go through
we
and
definitely need to do this. I feel like this
it
is
just scrapes the internet for me for all my different brands, and then I can take advantage of.
Love
and then
it.
I have a couple of email keywords as well that I do. So.
Yep.
Oh my God, she's all over it. Wow.
Yep.
Woo.
Yeah, let Google do the work for you. Go talk to your SEO person and they can help you get everything set up that you need to be able to monitor.
So Karina is
Advocate for
using
yourself.
real-time personalization in her day-to-day work, everybody. So this is where
That
we
is
now
true.
need to get to, not only push it to our customers, but also making life easier for ourselves. Kath, I don't know, do we have time for one more question or do we have to?
No, because it's a big one. We've got a lovely comment here. Thank you, whoever it is. They said, Adiola, you are a rocking webinar host.
I agree.
I have to agree.
Absolutely.
Thank
But not
you,
quite a
Anonymous.
question, but thanks very much. Okay.
So we don't have time, right? Okay,
No.
well, that went so quickly, but I guess that's everything that we have time for today. And I just want to thank everyone who attended this event live, and actually hello and thank you for all of those that will be watching it on demand in the future. Massive thanks to Matt for all of those questions. That was Matthew, sorry, I even feel so friendly. I'm calling you Matt, sorry, Matthew.
You're friends now.
Yeah, we're buddies. He's asked like 5 questions. I feel like, definitely friends. But yes, thank you for your time. And I really do hope that you all found this beneficial and insightful. And of course, I want to give a massive thank you to our amazing speakers for sharing their experience and expertise with us. You guys were absolutely great. Please don't forget to leave feedback, as we'd love to know, what we've done well and where we can improve, because, we're marketeers. So we want to always optimize. You see what I did there? So we can keep bringing you quality online events and webinars. So thank you so much for attending today, and we'll see you soon. Bye.